What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition Power Gamers Tactics Room. I'm your host, Bill Brian Bafflestone, and today we are going to be starting off an ambitious 28-part series where I break down the entire fighter class and devote 3 videos to all of the viable subdomains. Banneret's going to get skipped because that's got to be a joke subdomain, right? For NPCs only. I can't imagine players ever wanting to take Banneret. But all of the other 9 subdomains will be getting 3 videos each. I'm going to be doing a review and ratings series to give us an overview. I'll be doing a deep dive optimization series to show us how to get the best out of this subclass. And finally, I will do a character build series to show you how I would put something together. So today we are going to start with the Rune Knight from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. And we are doing the review and ratings series today to give us an overview. So let's see what we've got here. So I'll begin by saying that I love the flavor of the Rune Knight. It's a very interesting approach to the fighter class that's not really intuitive and kind of cool, connected to cloud giants, scribing runes. It's a pretty interesting approach, so I'm very curious to see what they do with it. So we are going to start by looking at their 3rd level power suite, the abilities that really define them as Rune Knights. So I put it on the screen and we see that they get a bonus proficiency in Smith tools and Giant language. So that's pretty cool. Then they get Giant's Might. So a proficiency times per day, they can use a bonus action to gain a 1-minute enlargement effect. Their size increases to large. They get advantage to strength saves and checks, and 1 time per turn, they get to add extra damage to their attack, starting at a d6. They also get Rune Carver. They start by knowing 2 runes, and they get 2 rune slots. They have to be different runes. They get an additional slot and rune known at 7th, 10th, and 15th level for a total of 5. And they create spell effects, which the save DC is 8 plus proficiency plus con modifier. At 3rd level, they start with 4 runes, and they are all pretty cool. The Cloud rune gives them advantage to deception and sleight of hand checks. Interesting for the character development and roleplay side of things. But more importantly, 1 time per short rest, they can redirect any attack within 30 feet to a new target in range at the same attack roll. So right away, that is a really nice thing to use when your enemies get a critical against you. You just redirect it to one of their allies, and that is a huge impact on the battle. You've turned what was going to be a critical against you into a critical for you. Big swing, a lot of fun when that goes off. Then there is the Fire rune, where you get expertise with your Smith's tools, so that's even cooler. And 1 time per short rest, they can, on a hit, inflict extra fire damage, 2d6, and inflict a strength saving throw versus restrained and 2d6 fire per round with an end of turn save. That is a really strong and cool attack. Restrained is a very powerful condition that stops them from moving, and they attack at disadvantage and are attacked at advantage. So against a BBEG, this is a really sweet thing to pull out and just really thematic. Imagining it happening in my mind's eye is pretty cool. The next rune they get at 3rd level is the Frost rune, which gives advantage to animal handling and investigation checks. So I kind of like this thing they have going where they give advantage to skill checks. That's a little different than expertise and such. And an eclectic, grouping of skills, but, it's all in the theme. And 1 time per short rest, as a bonus action, they can gain +2 on strength and con, saves and checks for 10 minutes. That plays in pretty nicely with Giant's Might. So they will be probably doing grappling and shoving to take advantage of their Giant's Might. So here they're going to get a +2 for 10 minutes. That's great synergy. And the Stone rune gives them 120-foot dark vision and advantage to insight checks. That is fantastic. 60-foot dark vision is the standard, so 120-foot dark vision is great and can open up some kiting opportunities. if you stay in that 60 to 120 foot buffer range. More importantly, 1 time per short rest, they can use their reaction to force a wisdom save versus charmed, move 0, and incapacitated with an end of turn save with a 30-foot range. That is pretty sweet too. So a creatively flavorful package of abilities that are pretty sweet. They are formidable, although they do only have 2 uses per day, but the always-on facets are a nice touch. They are nicely versatile with a thematic selection of options. I mean, you get a charm control, you get a restrained control with a wicked visual and fire damage, you get a little bump to your shoves and grapples, and you get a wicked defense where you can turn a critical that was going to be inflicted on you or your party to against your enemies. Big swing, very cool. Giant's Might is fun and thematic. It's good with reaction attacks like Pole Arm Master to get that extra d6 per turn. If you get an attack on a different turn besides the turn that you take your action and bonus action, namely your reaction turn, you can basically get an extra d6 out of this. So something like Pole Arm Master or another game mechanic that's going to allow you to regularly attack on your reaction is a nice synergy here. And so overall, I am pretty impressed with the 3rd level Rune Knight and give it a rating of good. I think only the Battlemaster, Echo Knight, and Eldritch Knight are clearly better. I think the Psy Warrior is in the same weight class, and I think it's clearly better than Arcane Archer, Banneret, Cavalier, Champion, and Samurai. At least the 3rd level powers. We'll next look at the 7th level Rune Knight powers. They get Runic Shield, which gives a proficiency number of times per day reaction to force an attack reroll within 60 feet. That's a great defense. And then they get a couple of new runes. The Hill rune gives advantage on save versus poison and poison resistance. Wow, that is a very powerful combination. And then on top of that, once per short rest, they can use a bonus action to gain resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, slashing damage for 1 minute. I don't see a non-magical rider in there, so it seems like it does include magical bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing. So the Hill rune is amazing. Advantage and resistance to poison and resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, slashing for 1 minute. Very, very good. And then the Storm rune is also quite good. You cannot be surprised, and you get advantage to Arcana checks. The can't be surprised thing is a really nice rider. And 1 time per short rest, you can use a bonus action to gain a reaction that imposes advantage or disadvantage to any attack, save, or check within 60 feet. That is also fantastic and versatile. Very few things allow you to both impose advantage and disadvantage. And so you have a lot of opportunities to use this and have a big impact. So this is really nice suite of powers. That is a fantastic reaction in Runic Shield. And the Hill and Storm runes are big rune power-ups. Elite always-on abilities and really nice one-shot abilities. So I am very impressed by the 7th level Rune Knight abilities, and I rate them superior. I literally don't think there are any 7th level abilities better. I think only the Samurai's ability is equivalent, and I think it's better than all of the rest. So Rune Knight is off to a pretty good start here. They have good 3rd level abilities and superior 7th level abilities. So hopefully they can keep it up. Let's take a look at their 10th level ability, which is Great Stature. This adds 3d4 inches to their size, although no category size change, and it increases the extra damage die that they do once per turn with their Giant's Might from a d6 to a d8, or a +1. So this one's pretty disappointing. It's a cosmetic effect with no impact on the phases of the game, not interaction, combat, or exploration, and a small damage bump is not that impressive at 10th level. Just +1? I am afraid I have to rate that inferior. Only the Arcane Archer is worse or equivalently bad, and all of the others are better. So, okay, we took a step back on the Rune Knight. Even though they really started out great out of the gate at 3rd and 7th level, I'm not too pleased with the 10th level ability. Then we look at the 15th level ability, which is Master of Runes. They get to use all runes 2 times per short rest. Additional 4 to 5 uses of these powerful runes per short rest is fantastic. By the time you get this, you have 4 of them, and you will soon get 5. So to use them twice per short rest is 8 to 10 of these powerful runes per short rest. This starts to blow away the Battle Master and the Psy Warrior because they don't get nearly as many per short rest. The Psy Warrior gets, about the same number in a long rest, and the Battle Master gets only 4 per short rest. So the Rune Knight is really coming online at 15th level. I rate this a superior. I don't think that there's anything better. Only the Psy Warrior has an equivalent power at 15th level, and all the others are worse. So one little misstep for the Rune Knight at 10th level, but otherwise their powers are looking really fantastic. So let's look at their capstone at 18th level. They get Runic Juggernaut. It improves their Giant Smite size to huge. They gain a 5-foot reach and a plus D10 on their Giant Smite damage die, an additional +1 over their previous bump. So this is not very impressive. Reach is nice, but for a capstone, this really isn't that much of a bump. So I have to rate the 18th level Rune Knight power as inferior. I don't think that there are any worse. I think only the Battle Master's is equivalent, and I find all of the others better. So unfortunately, they end on something of a sour note. So Rune Knights start out really strong at 3rd level with good and at 7th level with superior, but then they take a dive to inferior at 10th level, come back up to superior at 15th level, and end their capstone with inferior. So when I look at the Rune Knight power suite as a whole and compare it to all of the other subdomains, I have to give it an average plus. It's on the high side of average, almost good. I consider only 4 subdomains better: the Battle Master, the Echo Knight, the Eldritch Knight, and the Psy Warrior. And the Psy Warrior is very close. These two are very, very closely together, but I do think Psy Warrior is just a little bit better. And then I think it's about the same tier as the Cavalier and the Samurai, and it is definitely better than the Arcane Archer, the Banneret, or the Champion. So that's it. That's my opinion of the Rune Knight, a very thematically cool subdomain that is pretty mechanically solid. And I look forward to my next video where I take a deep dive into the class to figure out how to optimize it and get the most out of it. So let me know what you think in the comments, whether you agree or disagree or have any cool nuances about the Rune Knight. In any case, thank you so much for watching. This has been the Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition Power Gamers Tactics Room. I'm your host, Bill Bafflestone. See you next time.